Hey everyone, it's Serotonin. I'm getting back into my history, our story. Okay, this has come up for me a lot. I just keep finding information about France, and I really want to talk about France. So a long time ago, France, during the Iron Age, what is now metropolitan France, was inhabited by the Gauls, les Gauls, a Celtic people. Rome annexed the area in 51 BC, holding it until the arrival of the Germanic Franks. And we're going to get into who the Franks are. And it says here in 746, but I have reason to believe that there's more to it than that. And it's a lot older than it says to be in other references. Okay. So why do I want to talk about France? Well, there's a lot of reasons why I want to talk about France. So first of all, let's have a quick look at their emblem. With chains around it into the papal symbol here, a wreath, and one of the many crosses here. And these are all, most of these seem to attribute to like the House of York, and it denotes a house. It's a house. Okay. We have the fasces here. We have the laurel leaves, and we have the oak tree. So it doesn't get creepier than that if you know what your symbols are. Okay. The other reason why I'm interested in France is because Scottish Rite Freemasonry, which is the one that kind of runs everything, and you can see their logo here, the double-headed eagle, the two faces, was founded, believe it or not, Scottish Rite Freemasonry was founded in the 17th century in Bordeaux, France. Sorry, let's go back to this. Sorry, France was inhabited by the Gauls, who were a Celtic people. Okay, so you see where I'm going with this. Very interesting. Okay. The other reason why I wanted to talk about France, let's have a look at the fleur-de-lis. Now, for those of you that follow Martin Lidke or any of those guys, there's John Levi, there's Lee from Flat Earth British Sub, there's a guy from Wise Up, there's a bunch of different friends in the group. There's Mick as well from Rebel Without a Pause. And a lot of the work that we had done over time was talking about basically it's, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a torus field that runs through the center of the flat Earth and arcs up and around and creates a force field of energy that is part of what is protecting our domain. Is sort of what the explanation is on the fleur-de-lis. And the fleur-de-lis is, of course, the symbol of France. And if you're Canadian, you'll see it all over Quebec as well. So really interesting stuff. What else about France? Well, there's also the Statue of Liberty was given as a gift by France to the United States. Now, everybody and their dog has, some suspicions that it's a Trojan horse of types. And it's become pretty obvious that it is not Lady Liberty, but it's very likely to be Apollo. And then I wanted to just go over here to Louis XIV, who was King Louis XIV of France and was also called the Sun King. And here is the sun was chosen to represent him, and there's one of his symbols. Top kind of reminds you maybe a little bit, I don't know, reminds me a little bit of the Statue of Liberty. So what happened? How come Gaul became France? Well, first of all, Rome annexed it and was holding it until the arrival of the Germanic Franks. But who were the Franks? So let's look at Frankism. And they say here that Frankism was a Sabbatian Jewish religious movement from the 18th to the 19th century. I actually believe that it was probably a lot older than that. This was a deeply disturbing sect of Judaism that believed in retribution through sin. So basically, the more you sin, the holier you are, because you're bringing about the end of times when the second coming of Christ will, separate the wheat from the chaff. So you're actually, according to this religion, you're doing your duty by doing the most profane and disgusting things, which involves, hang on a second, so Jacob Frank was supposed to be the person who began all of this, but when you really go through this stuff, you find out that it's actually a lot older than that, and it probably is being attributed to many, many other people. So it says here, okay, so, oh, sorry, let's go back here. So he would perform acts and violated traditional Jewish taboos, such as eating foods that were forbidden, celebrating prescribed fast days as feast days, and especially after Zevai's death, a number of branches of Sabbatianism evolved, which disagreed amongst themselves over which aspects of traditional Judaism should be preserved and which discarded, and the more radical branches even engaged in sexual foreplay, and Frankism orgies featured prominently in ritual. Okay, so that's, of course, the wiki version of it. And here, we'll get probably a bit more into it. Oh no, they've just copied wiki. Come on, people. Okay, this is interesting. Very interesting. So this article is referring to it as a type of Satanism. So yeah, he simply espoused decadence and people to get into this because the philosophy discounts any moral limits, which feeds the ego, which is a temptation we all have. With Frankism, you see, do what thou wilt, right? Satanic thread. What is now manifest as anything goes and don't judge in the new age twerking culture. Wow, I really like this article. I'm totally going to put the links below. That is hilarious. And oh, this is fantastic. It was all helped along by Rothschild money. This person is exactly what they were talking about. Anyway, I'll leave that in the description box below. And here's just an interesting bit here. Okay, so let's talk about Versailles for a minute. Okay, so Versailles, let's just have a quick look at Versailles. We've all heard about this, especially if you are a Martin Lidke follower. You have probably heard about this really bizarre thing about there being absolutely no toilets in Versailles, and apparently that's 100% true, and they had to have them installed later, I guess, if I don't remember. So here we go. So this is Versailles. Okay, so the lack of toilets. There were hardly any toilets at Versailles, with the court counting several thousand people. It turned out to be more than a little problem. The servants and the commoners who came to look after their monarch, even the aristocrats, would occasionally relieve themselves in the corners and courtyards, though this was not as often as has later been implied. So one quick thing, let's have a quick look at the fountains in Versailles, which were built at the same time. So they didn't build the fountains later. They built them at the exact same time as the whole palace was built. They had apparently so many liters of water. Hang on a second. They had so many liters of water. It was something like it's like thousands of gallons of water basically emerging at the same time. I'm not going to actually really go through, but I will leave the link to this. There's a dragon fountain, interesting. A Neptune fountain, very interesting. Latona's fountain, oh, this is a really great little, oh wait, Apollo's fountain. The mirror pool, oh my goodness, the nymph's bath, wow, 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 wow. Okay, super creepy. Okay, check out, like, look at this fountain. Oh, and it's a grove even. Oh dear. Okay, so they built all this, right? But you know what they didn't build? Latrines. They didn't build a hole in the ground And I know this because as a child, I lived in France. This was my greatest fear. This was my greatest fear when I was 4. I would actually have to go and like get my brother or sister to come with me and hold my hand so that I didn't fall in and have an early death. Oh my goodness. Yeah, terrifying French toilets. Sorry, everyone. Seriously, though. So they could do all of this, right? Build all that. Build all this. All these sculptures, all these walks. This fountain can't make this beyond them. So what gives? Why were there no toilets? Okay, so my theory, and this is just a window into the mind of me. Okay, I 100% believe that we inherited this planet, and I use the term planet very loosely, this construct that we're in, from the previous people. So, okay, so the story that I believe in is that we, our construct that we're living in, which is basically like a petri dish, descended into the abyss. And all of the beings that were originally on that planet before it descended were turfed. We call them giants, and we basically like kind of pooped all over their memory by turning all their bones into dinosaurs, calling their old trees mountains, all kinds of stuff, right? Yeah, I'm pretty far right there, so keep up. So these people apparently, who were the builders of all this beautiful stuff, which you see literally like across the globe, like there are no differences between the older architecture from any country. I mean, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, Russia, England, Canada, the US, South America, all looks the same. All looks the same. And I can put a description for that in the description box below as well. I mean, a link for one of those videos that does that, which shows you like all the same buildings across all these different countries. And I don't know, I don't really know why they didn't poop, but they didn't poop. These people didn't use the facilities. They didn't have facilities. And I think that when the Phoenicians, the this sort of mafia family that runs the whole planet, when they sort of began sort of proliferating enough across the planet, they just moved in. This is why we call it Freemasonry. The masonry was free. They just walked in, right? What better way for King Louis the 14th, Louis XIV, what is more delightful to him than asking everyone in his court to poop all over Versailles? Just poop wherever you like, just go for it. And also, who does that? Like, animals do that, right? Not people. People don't do stuff like that. Not grown-ups. I mean, maybe a toilet-trained toddler or something having an accident. But grown-up people don't poop in a hallway or in a corner. They just don't. That's what animals do. Or beasts. Or monsters. I don't know. Anyway. That is my little wrap-up on France. And I know it's kind of funny and ridiculous for some of you. But these are all these thoughts that are weaving together and fixing together and weaving together in my head. And yeah, I just had to kind of get that out of there. I don't know. It's completely unformed. I mean, I've put together a cake, and I don't even know if I baked it for long enough. But I'm gonna leave it for you guys to have a look at and tell me what I should do next with it. Because if you have any ideas for ingredients, help me bake this a little bit better, that would be awesome. But yeah, that's kind of where my brain has been going for a couple of weeks, and I just needed to really just get that out there. So I don't know. All right, talk to you later. Bye.